Welcome to the StockManor.com studios. I'm your StockManor Brian Johnson, and the market's decidedly higher today, obviously, on whatever news they want to call it, but it's up about 2%, and then the NASDAQ, almost 3%, 2.68% or so on the NASDAQ, so a very strong move today by the techs. And here we are with our charts. Now, we talked about this yesterday, and that was more conservative. Obviously, entries were below 10,000 or above 10,250. That was a little bit more aggressive move to the high side, and or above 10,400. If you took the trade above 10,250, worked out very well for you today. And we went up pretty close to the 10,400 mark, about 30 points away, 40 points away from it or so today. And you can see where we kind of stalled out. Once again, lots of choppy action in through here. And since we're back up above this blue line here, dancing around, we can view this one of about 1,000 different ways. And this could be, 1, 2, 3. Now we could be working on a 1, 2. Now this looks like a 5 down to me, guys. So I'm still a little bit torn. If I want to give you my quote-unquote Elliott count, I'm a little torn to give you anything. I do not believe the count is clear at all in through here. It really is either way for the Elliott wave. So we're going to do what we always do, and that's just use it as confirmation, not indication, and I'm going to continue to use my technical analysis because it's obviously been serving us very well over the last few days. And that is continue to watch these breaks. We still want this break above 10,400 for the Dow. You can see here holding very well today, coming back a little bit at the end of the day and then bouncing off the blue line, going right back up. So as messy as this kind of is in here, I really like this blue line. Still think it's holding and working very well at this point. Waiting for these breaks either here or ultimately back down below 10,000. If you're conservative with your trading, this is where you want it to break before you really start looking at anything more major to the downside. Yes, you're going to have to give up maybe 200 points or something like that. However, who cares in the bigger scheme of things as long as you get the trade right and make some money on it. So Dow on it daily, if we take a look at this is what's holding this up as well. This blue line still waiting for that break up and over 10,400. Why? Because it also gets us above the 200-day moving average. Do we want to make this into an inverse head and shoulders? I don't care. Whatever. Do whatever you want with it. And the fact of the matter is I still like breaks up and above these areas. That 10,400 and 10,450-ish area still look pretty good from the Dow's long side. NDX on a 60 was the bigger mover of today, up 45 points, 46 points. But started with the big gap up. Man, these gaps are killing us. Tell me this isn't tough trading. Here you are with a big gap up, run down all day long, coming right back here, holding that blue line. Notice how we never even tagged it yesterday. Today, big gap up. And running up. This is still, I'm still looking at this as a high base, as I did some of the other high bases we were watching back in these areas before we kind of fell down. Will this same action play out? I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm still waiting for breaks up and above all these areas. 1860, 1865-ish was still my area to get long if you took that trade today and held overnight. A little bit speculative on your part to hold overnight. We did not see much movement once we got up and above this first attempt of 1865. So still might have to wait a little while to see if the bulls will chew their way through that overhead resistance at that 1865-ish area. But that's my next move, above 65 or so, back into the 1880 mark, I think is very plausible. Then from there, yeah, we could hit back up way above 1900 again, guys. So we'll be watching this, obviously, coming into tomorrow's trading. Back below us, I don't know, you can short the NASDAQ if you want, but you want to wait till it gets back below about 1800 or 1780-ish or so before you start doing that. Here's the choppiness we've been watching, right back up to this overhead resistance, which is holding beautifully. And waiting for breaks of this into tomorrow. See if this will actually hold with a break into tomorrow. We are on to Thursday, meaning that tomorrow we get the weekly candle to finally close, and in this case, we are just above that blue line. Really wanting to watch this overhead area of the 20-week moving average, but I'll tell you, some of these weekly charts are slowly starting to look a little bit on the bullish side for the time being. We'll see how much further we move tomorrow and if that makes a difference in what the look is coming into the weekend. SPX 60-minute trade was more aggressive above 1090. or you could still gone in above 1085, really above 1090 for me, and then played up to about the 1100 mark. We saw 2.5 points away from that 1100 mark. So opportunity to make some money if you got in above 1090. You could have made, I don't know, 5-6 points if it's really worth it to you. Your more conservative entries obviously above the 1100 area, and you can see we are holding up there at this point. It's anyone's call. Anyone's call. You really want to wait for a break of this 1100 area before you start to take a more bullish stance on this. Maybe this is some sort of an A, B, C correction, and now we're headed back down. Maybe this is a 3 to the upside. We don't know yet. Neither do I care. Just going to wait for these breaks, and then we'll take our trades from that. On the daily, you can see us here coming right back up, kind of towards this overhead resistance, which is right at the 1100. The wick of today's candle not quite reaching it, which makes sense since we were about 2.5 points short of actually touching the 1100 mark. What would be the best case scenario for the bulls? Well, you tell me. What do you want to see when you can't break overhead resistance? You've been following me for any length of time, you know it's a gap. So we'll see if we get a gap up and over that 1100 area in the morning for some reason, and if it can play it out from there. You'll want to make sure if we do get a gap over that area that it holds. Otherwise, to the downside, still looking at these other levels we've been watching for forever, 1060 and then 1050 for short trades there on the more conservative side. From the weekly, you can see us right back up to and hanging around that 50-week moving average, and that's what held us up today. That moving average is at 1096, about 1097, and that was just about what we hit today for a high. The 50-week moving average is holding us up right here, and that's why we started to base and just couldn't seem to make it any higher once we got up and into that area. So that's definitely a big area for the bulls to break and for the bears to hold. Tomorrow we will get a close to this candle. Let's see if that makes any difference. VIX on a daily was also down today, about 4%. Doesn't look like much of a move when you look at it from a candle perspective, but from a percentage perspective, definitely confirming what we saw today. What are we in? Yeah, just like